Hello, I'm Richard. I'm Richard Haggerty, master hypnotherapist, hypnotic consultant, and you can call me Rich. And today I wanted to share with you something that I've decided to call the Rich system. And this is going to be quite interesting because I just had a fantastic weekend away with some wonderful colleagues, some wonderful friends, and it's completely inspired me. And the event was, of course, the Royal event, hosted by the wonderful Steve Miller and his business partner, Andrew. It was just a fantastic time. And for the last 17 years, I have been studying NLP, personal development, hypnosis, just with anyone I can, any materials, anywhere in the world. And honestly, in spite of that, I've had a lot of difficulties. I've had a lot of difficulties making changes personally. I've had a lot of difficulties sometimes with clients. I've got wonderful results some of the times, but not in other situations. I've also had the situation where I've got skills that are evolving, doing wonderfully, becoming fantastic, but being unable to market them. And so today what I'm going to talk to you is 17 years of wisdom sort of condensed into one insight that I think will help you shift your mind arguably more than any other courses that you've been on, unless you've been there last weekend. But even then, I'm going to show you how to take that insight step by step and apply it across your life. I believe it has the power to transform you. It's kind of like a little bit like in The Matrix. I don't know if you remember, there's a point, if you've ever seen that film, there's a point where you have the blue pill and the red pill. And what's really nice about choosing to take the pill that will take you in a certain direction, that will open your mind to seeing it differently, is it's very empowering. So that when you do go and use materials, or you do go and study with anyone else, or you go back to the materials or the schools that you've learned from, you have an additional insight that will be totally empowering for you. Okay, because I see as a therapist, as a coach, as somebody who mentors people, I've seen a lot of people pretty much fall into the same situation that I've felt in, which is they don't have enough clients, or they just get stuck on this treadmill of going to course after course after course. Just to give you an idea, I've spent tens of thousands of pounds traveling around the world, doing everything from the Tony Robbins to all the different NLP courses. I've studied personally, one-to-one, live, with Bandler, with Grinder, the co-developers of NLP. I studied with John Odolph and Julie Silverthorne, very widely respected authors, developers of a book called Training Trances, wonderful people. I've studied with Gerald Kine, I've studied Ultra Depth, I've studied Ultra Heights, I've studied, the last few years I've been studying conversational hypnosis, mind-bending language, all these things, and they are wonderful. But you know what? I had a bit of a challenge in that I had so much stuff. My personal development thing, once upon a time I had a client who said he literally shed that he had to build to store all his personal development products. And I was a bit like that. I mean, I've worked for, over the years, for the second biggest personal development company in the UK. Just to give you an idea, at the time, Life Tools had probably had a mailing list, I don't know, of maybe 40,000 people. I think only Nightingale Conant had a bigger one. I've helped co-develop products for them. I've helped co-develop products in the States for some of the biggest companies. I've also reviewed things for them. Actually, a lot of the time I was just doing that because I was passionate about it. But the thing is, still, I didn't have, so I got all these tools, I got all this stuff, but there was something missing. And I really hope today that the insight, the thing that switched inside my mind, will help you make that switch as well. It's a very, very simple insight. It's very easy. You will already have heard it. But what you won't have done is heard how to apply it, how you can apply it right across the board. So I'm going to give you a whistle-stop tour of this. It's going to be very, very quick today. And what I'm going to do is, this is my first Facebook Live ever thing I've done. So I'm going to take my medicine and I'm going to do one of these every day for the next 28 days. I really hope it's going to be useful for you. Please take away, use whatever you can. I just ask that if there's anything there specific, you attribute it, or just send some people my way so that we can share information. I'm not at this point, I don't have any intention to specifically sell anything, and I will be referring you to the very few courses. I'll mention books, those things that have helped me on the way. So, and I will give you a bit of context, because about 3 months ago I had finished a fantastic course. It really is an amazing course that had transformed my abilities as a hypnotist, and that was a course with somebody called Igor Ledehovsky and Anthony Jackman. It's called Advanced Walk-Up Street Hypnosis. Fantastic course. What it did for me was it gave me real confidence using the convincers, those things that we probably learn in the very early days if you've ever done hypnosis. If you've not done hypnosis, if you're a coach, if that's not from your background, these are simple little things that you can do to flick a switch inside a person's mind to help them totally engage, to help them to be completely, buy into the fact that what you're doing for them is going to work. And for some reason, these things that I learned years ago, I considered quite trivial, and I've never thought about using it directly in my client sessions. I've never thought about using it in lecture demos, and let me tell you that it was absolutely been completely transformative. I'm going to get onto that in a minute because it's going to tie into something else. But I'd finished that course and I was raring to go, but there was something missing. There was something missing, which was the ability to market, the ability to get out there. And I'm just looking for the next thing, to be very honest. So I'm still on this hamster wheel of going around. And then by chance, by fluke, I went online and I came across somebody called Jonathan Royal. And honestly, it absolutely bloody terrified me. Because I had spoken with Alex a few years ago. He is a lovely person, but I remember watching his videos and and the language and his the way that he talks about hypnosis. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I've never seen anybody talk like that before. And so I sort of sent him a little message. I think it might have even contacted him on Facebook Messenger, something like that. And do you know what? He got straight back to me and he said, "Look, I can see you want to do this. Have you considered that? Have you considered that?" And really, right the way through, he's just been absolutely wonderful. Because to cut a long story short, I joined something called the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp, something that he does. He may well have a deal on at the moment. It's got about 25, 30 years worth of videos and stuff to do with marketing and so forth. But it's really helped me buy into something, because I was having a challenge. I'm based here in the UK. I'm actually based very near Cardiff. But a lot of the material that I'd studied online, a lot of them, the ideas that people had weren't really suited for the market, I would say, over here. So it was really nice for me to meet somebody who is like me. He's got a kid, he lives in the UK, and just, and really knows how to communicate with people. So I want to just go in. I want to plunge straight in now, and I want to tell you the insight that's helped me to really transform what I'm doing. It's really helped me to transform the way I look at things, the way I look at business, the way I look at working with clients, the way I look at my life. And it's a very simple insight. And I think what's happened is that there is, if you're like me, you look around on the internet, you look in books, you go on courses, and there is just more and more information. There are more and more experts. And honestly, if you go to one expert, and they may well be telling you something completely and utterly different. And it is really frustrating because you don't know, how are you going to know how to implement that? And also, if you're not one of those people who's in that elite category where you are bringing in a really sizable income, how can you start to make that leap? How can you start to move in that direction, particularly if you want to work for yourself? So just before I go, so that's me. So 17 years of doing great, but really there was a certain something missing. And it's the certain something that I was always curious about in my client sessions, which is, why do some people change really easily and quickly, and why do some people not? It's also the key for, why do some people just have no trouble in business whatsoever, and why do some people find it very, very easy? And I think to understand this, you've just got to understand, at least from a hypnosis point of view, if we were going to talk about that there have always been two general schools of hypnosis going back a couple of 100 years. One big picture school would have been called the Paris School, led by Charcot, which says that hypnosis is in essence a state. It's a very special state. And there's another school which would have been characterized by the Nancy School, or the Nancy School, which has Lebo and a wonderful guy called Bernheim, which says that hypnosis really is working through suggestions, working through other mechanisms. It's not a special state. And we're going to go a little bit beyond that. We're going to definitely stop seeing hypnosis as a special state, because there's something else that actually I think will be more useful. I think you can still look at as you're working in terms of helping people elicit certain states that will move them in a direction. But I think that the weight of evidence now is moving in the direction of it being something more than that. And the something more than that is the placebo effect. There's something more than that. It's the placebo effect. And let me tell you why this is so relevant in your life, why it's so relevant in your business, why it's so relevant in pretty much everything that you do, and why it would be something that you'd be wise to sort of take on and really understand how to drill down and look at it in all these areas of life. Since 2010, there's been a wonderful researcher called Ted Kaputchek. Now, Ted is the director for placebo studies. I think it's at Harvard Medical School. I'll have to look up how to spell his name again, because that's it, Kaptchuk. That's Kaptchuk. He has a program in placebo studies, so you can Google it, you can find out about it. There's also a BBC Horizon documentary on the placebo effect. I would urge you and encourage you to watch that, because they interview him on there, so you can speak about you can see some of the studies that are done. But in essence, what he's found very consistently is that if you have somebody in authority who tells somebody that they are going to get better, then with something like IBS, you will find that about 62% of the time there will be an improvement, versus the control, which may be around about 30, 32, maybe as much as 42%. It's really interesting, and they've done this consistently across the board. In fact, to the point where there have been studies where they've done them on the top of mountains, where they, and they've done this under safe environments with doctors and so forth around, where somebody believes that they have oxygen in their tank. They're at high altitude, they believe they have oxygen in their tank. They do not. So they should be, by all rights, struggling and in a bit of difficulty. And of course, the medical teams are on standby for this, and they've agreed to take part in it. But what happens is, if their mind believes that there is oxygen there is a hormone inside their body that actually gets released. Once the placebo effect is triggered, there are neurochemical changes that go on inside the body that will actually keep a person safe. Now, there's going to be obviously limits to that, but this is really interesting, because it's not just that nothing's happening, it's that something has shifted, something has changed inside a person's mind. Now, I want to bring this back to marketing. I'm going to bring this nuts and bolts, and I'm going to show you the moment when this kind of like flipped inside my mind, because my mentor now, in terms of, at least from the business point of view, believes that hypnosis is operating through the placebo effect. And you know what? Based on all the evidence that I've looked at and all the research that I've looked at, this is absolutely the most comprehensive and useful explanation. It also explains why, if we want to be successful in business, we want to use the same principle, and why there's no difference between hypnosis, why there's no difference between marketing. Let me give you an example. So at the moment, I also work a lot at Cardiff University. I work in there. I work with a lot of academics, and you'll hear words like prestige, esteemed, authority. You'll hear outside in the real world, you'll hear people talk about things like reputation or brand or branding. Now think about it for a moment. Are any of those things real? Do they have some reality? You know, this person is an esteemed person. This person has a wonderful reputation. Is there any reality to it? There's no reality to that. What it in essence is a frame to look at and consider that situation, in which you are saying, look at it this way, look at it this way. This is special. This has authority. This has believability. This has credibility. And by doing that, if enough people do it in enough of a context, and it's done in the right consistent way, then what you can pretty much predict is that at least 62% of the time, it's going to start flicking things unconsciously to help people move in that direction. So stop for a minute and let's just look at this. If we know that even with a non-hypnotist is going out there, and when they do studies, 62% of the time there will be a tendency to buy into that idea, then all we need to do is we need to make sure that at every step when we're interacting in business or with our clients, that we're going to be playing that percentage game. We're going to be creating the environment that creates the maximum amount of believability, credibility, and sheer belief that's going to flick that in that direction. So what do I mean by that? Let me give you a couple of practical examples that I hope will be really useful for you. So this week I'm going to launch rapid blushing removal therapy. And the reason I came to do this is I thought, well, look, if I am going to to work with clients and we want to start to get people in, we want to start to get them in, they need to have that belief triggered inside their mind that I am the expert in that area. And I've been working with people for some strange reason. As therapists, you start getting people in certain genres come to you for whatever reason. I've no idea why, but over the years, people like to come to see me for blushing as well as, stopping smoking, that kind of stuff. So if you are the generic hypnotherapist or the generic coach, then it's relatively meaningless in terms of other people who want to find you and want to come to see you. Now, if you are somebody, on the other hand, who has rapid blushing removal therapy, and you're the first person in the world to do that, so now you have your own therapy, RBT. You're a rapid blushing removal consultant, and you have your own website for that, and you have your own logo for that, and you even contacted the insurance company. I believe it's Holistic Insurance Services. I'm sure Alex Williams-Smith will have popped that information online about that particular insurance company. They're wonderful. I think they're about £68 a year. You can contact them and you can ask them to get insured for your own therapy. Now I'm going to go into this in a lot more detail over the next few days about how to get your own logo done for a few dollars, how to get a website set up again for a few dollars and have that professionally done. But the important thing is that if you start positioning yourself in that way, using the skills that you've already got, then you will be standing out from the crowds. Now, people always talk about niching. They always say that you need to niche. And actually, you will already have some niches inside you and things that you know brilliantly about, wonderfully about, that you would be able to use in a business context. So I will go through a very specific process to help you draw that out. But what's really been interesting now is the way that I position the websites, the way that I position what I'm doing, and the way that I work with the client is very, very clear. There is no doubt whatsoever when I speak with somebody, I will be speaking to them like I'm speaking to you now. Now let me give you a difference, because I'm gonna go through very briefly now and rapidly through the consultation process, the steps of the session, and how I will trigger that in a client when I'm working with them. So I'm going to imagine that you're a client calling me for something. So you might as well think of something that you want to change, and I will speak to you in a very general way that will speak to that in just a moment. But I want to give you a contrast frame first of all. I had a gentleman who called me a little while ago asking if he could, he was struggling in his hypnosis business, and could I call him back and speak with him? Now, honestly, I couldn't actually hear the phone number that he left on the phone. And he phoned up and he said, a really nice guy, really friendly, and I was very happy to make some time to call him. But this was the call that I got. Excuse me, I'm a hypnotist. Did you suppose it would be all right if I could? Would it be okay if I spoke with you? About. I want to do well in business, and my number's 216. And that was the call. I mean, that was the audio call that I had, and I went through it so many times. And I think all I want to do is I want to speak to you and say, look, you just need to bring some certainty to what you're doing. Yeah, that is not going to trigger the 62% in that particular context. And when we're talking about these percentages, it could be your tone of voice, it could be the specific interaction. So if there are multiple choice points along the way in which you can trigger the placebo effect in the people who you are with. And let me tell you, in your life, you want your kids to believe in themselves. You want your spouse to know that she feels loved. You want to make your colleagues feel that they can trust you and rely on you. And so it's in all our interests to be able to communicate that which is for the highest good of the people we're with and for the highest good of all concerned in a way that actually gets through. Because particularly if we think about therapy, if we think about beliefs, if we think about coaching people, we want to sell people on themselves. We want that person to stop doubting the fact that they can actually do something and actually move in the direction that they can do. So let's just, as I promised, let me show you how I use the placebo effect when I'm on the consultation. So on my website, anything I do, anytime I speak with somebody, I always arrange a time to speak to them. I say, look, you have a free consultation, which is a phone call in which we will together make sure that it's the right fit. And I'll tell you how to know in just a moment how it is a right fit. But let's say you call me up and we're having a chat and you have something in an area of your life where you would like to improve it in. as I'm chatting with you, I will, we will first of all, we'll look at, where it is and say, well, look, you've had this problem for some time. It's been caused, and it hasn't. It's caused you some discomfort and you felt pretty stuck in it. Okay. Now, let's park that for a moment. Let's just put that to the back of your mind. Now, let's just imagine that you have already solved this. Okay, and I want you to look back on having, gone through whichever process, perhaps coaching with me, perhaps hypnosis, doing whatever it is that works for you. But imagine that you've got that goal now, that it's no longer a problem. What would that be like for you? Imagine that you've got that now, and you can go out and that habit has changed. That feeling has changed. You feel confident inside. You feel good inside. You really feel like you're moving in the direction you want to go. When you come to see me, if you decide that this is something you want to do, literally, you'll just book online, and I'll send you I can send you the link after this. You book online, we find a session to do, and then we find a convenient time for you for the next couple of weeks. And listen, when you come here, you'll walk through the door. The very first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how easy it is for you to take control of your mind. I'm going to literally show you 2, 3, 4 quick things that will take a few seconds that will amaze you. You're going to see your body respond to a thought that you put out there. So the moment that you put that thought out there, your body is going to respond. You're going to get a genuine unconscious response, and it's going to blow your mind. You will just be sitting there absolutely amazed that you have such a powerful mind. And after we've done that, and in that state, and you can see that your powers of imagination, concentration, and intelligence are that powerful, then we'll go into the hypnotic segment. Now, for your particular thing, I'm going to tailor it for you, because before you come, you'll have filled out the pre-session questionnaire. You'll post that to me. I will go through that and I tailor the session. So by the time we get into the session, you will be in this wonderful state. You'll be relaxed. You'll be comfortable. My words will wash over you, and these changes will happen clearly, quickly, and easily. At the end of your session, you'll come round, you'll be feeling fantastic, you'll be feeling great and ready to go. You'll know that you will have changed. You will just feel that with every fibre of your body. And then what I'll do is I will text you within a few hours the recording, the unique recording of that session, so that you can listen to it every day for 28 days, not just to reinforce all the changes that you've got, but to help you in every area of your life to feel better, to feel more comfortable, to feel more relaxed, and to make sure that your relationships continue to improve, to just make sure that your health continues to improve, and to make sure that these all these habits and new behaviors and new feelings continue to be imbued in every fiber of your body. So let's just stop there. So I've given you a very whistle stop tour of that. You don't have to be sort of quite overt. It's like when you come to see me, but I haven't scripted this. This is the way that I work. You're working through emotion with people, but think about what we're doing there. I'm presenting a very, very clear frame. I'm often doing it using the hypnotic triple. I'm repeating things 3 times. But I'm letting them know with great certainty, this is how it's going to be, okay? You're going to come to see, literally, and people say, look, Richard, how can you ask? How can I get more money? Let me tell you, all right? You ask for it. Honestly, I've found, I sometimes charge £500 per session. I'd say the average now is about 300 just for a single session. But let me tell you, I've not had a single person bat an eyelid for £300 for a session. So I don't know what that is in dollars now. It's a little bit, it's probably a bit more, maybe 360, 350. You can check the exchange rate, but around about that. There is no, if you approach it in that way and you confidently let them tap into their pain at the beginning and then present some strong emotions for where they're going to go later on, and then with absolute confidence and certainty, you will, they will be totally there with you. I've told them what it's going to be like before the session. You'll complete this questionnaire. So they're going to be completing all the compliance tests, as we call them in hypnosis, before they come here. The pre-session questionnaire, let me tell you, when I do the video on that, you're going to love how I get people. I get them to do all the compliance tests before they come here. Then I tell them that when they come here, they're going to be doing what we some basic standard hypnosis convincers, and I will do a session on that. I'll show you how to do it so that you have complete confidence to do that. We'll do another one of those videos specifically on that. Then and only then do I go into the hypnosis session. Now, why would I want to do that anyway? What I want to do, I do that because then you never ever have that problem of people changing in your session, feeling better. You know they've changed, and them saying at the end, oh, but I wasn't sure I was hypnotized. Let me tell you, the way that I do it, the way that I will show you how to do it, that's never an issue. But what you're doing is you're creating that certainty. I'm then telling them how they're going to feel during the session, after the session, and I'm telling them the responsibility that they're going to take when they listen, when they leave, to listen to that recording and keep getting those changes in sight. Okay, and if you think about it in those terms, then you'll see why you can very, very easily start to use the placebo effect to be able to create change, because every one of those little things that I'm dropping in there with great certainty has the opportunity to trigger that inside their mind. I honestly believe that the clients at the end of the call with me, at the end of the conversation with me, at the end of the consultation, will already have changed. Why? Because I've flipped the placebo switch in their mind. I'm not going to make it dependent on me. I don't think that's ethical. I will let them know that they can do this. I'll usually say something like, if you know what, whatever you decide, you are going to make this change. You can do this. You absolutely have done it. I can see that inside your mind, there was something today that caused you to pick up the phone. And let me tell you, you're going to get this handled. You know, if I can be of help, then fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to that, because, you know, you're a wonderful person. But you know what? You can do this. You can absolutely do this. In fact, I think you're going to be surprised at how much more easily you're going to find, you know, better results in life. I think you're going to be continually surprised and delighted about this. And so I think that, you know, it's a really wonderful way of working, because what you are doing is helping people to change, helping them to move in the right direction. You're helping them to move in a direction that will be completely transformative for them. You know, you're not saying, I've got £60. I mean, I remember the first therapist I went to see years ago. I remember saying to him, oh, it's £40. Is that okay? I mean, how is that helping to trigger the placebo effect? How is that going to help somebody buy into the fact that you are the expert? If you went to see an excellent dentist, or you went to see a consultant in somewhere and they said, oh, it's 50p for my services, or it's $1, you're not going to believe, you're not going to have that sense of expectation there. So I would say round about, generally in the UK now, for a single hypnosis session, £300 is the minimum you should be charging, depending on your area. And I will talk about pricing structures later on for various other things. But in essence, you're going to be, because you've created yourself as the niche expert, because you have positioned yourself as that, and because you are guiding somebody to believe in that, and because you're getting that level of commitment up front, you will tend to get much, much better results. Now, I have a slightly different way of working. I mean, I've worked for a very, very long time. You can do multiple sessions, there's no question about it. But I remember seeing an infographic a while ago. I don't know where they got the data from, but, you know, they were saying the average for seeing a hypnotist was maybe 6 sessions or 8 sessions or something like that, versus sort of standard kind of counselling stuff where, you know, they were sort of quoting hundreds of sessions. So I don't really want people to be taking longer than they need to make a therapeutic change. Sure, for certain performance things, perhaps for weight loss, for certain other things, there are goals that we have where you can have a different pricing structure over a period of time. But still, I would use a very similar process. I would say, look, we've agreed on this executive coaching program. You know that we can do this together. It's 10 sessions. It's £2,500. All I'll do is I'll just send you the link after the session here. Just book that. As soon as it's booked, what we'll do is we'll get together. I'll drop you a line, and we'll get the first session in. And I mean, just to give you an idea, I can usually fit you in 4 to 6 weeks, something like that. I drop it in as casually as that. Honestly, it makes no difference to me. People book. I mean, I have very much close to 100% success rate in terms of closing, but because I don't think it was closing, I want to help people. And the only time I do not sort of, should we say, make the sale is if I can sense that it's not a good fit. That person is somehow, I think their mental focus, should we say, is not quite where I think it really would be for us to have the ideal working relationship, or there's just something else. I get a sense that there's something else that isn't right. And if my spider sense gets tingles support in any little way, then I will comfortably refer them, and I will still give them the same positive suggestions to move on. So I hope that's really helpful for you. I hope that's useful. I will go into these in a lot more detail each day, but I wanted to really let you know and give you an idea of what it's like to actually operate from this frame of reference that all we are doing in life is building belief. And the science has a term for this, which is the placebo effect, which simply means that something gets switched inside a person's mind, and they have great certainty that they can do things they couldn't do before. The Horizon one, I can't remember what the episode is called. If you Google placebo effect Horizon, they've got some wonderful examples in there. Right at the beginning, they've got cyclists. So these are people who are sort of Olympians, or professional cyclists. They're going around in the velodrome, and they tell them, some of them, look, you can have this blue pill. It's a performance enhancement pill, we've got to tell you. And they measure them. And you know what? These people go out, people who are trained every day rigorously, they go out and get a personal best just after having had a blue sugar pill. They go out and they improve their life. Now, the rest of the documentary goes into the more modern research, which shows that even if you tell a person that it's a placebo, they'll still go out and can still get these improvements. It's really, really exciting. It's weird. But it's for us, it's really important, because I truly believe that if any of us want to change, if we want to empower other people to change, then we need to learn to trigger that inside ourselves. We need to trigger that inside ourselves so we have that belief there, and that belief will then be transmitted in terms of what you do, so that you can move from the hesitant, is it okay if I'm trying to build up my business, and or the person who you meet who says, I'd like to meet a partner, and okay, and simply there are certain small shifts that will start to move them in that direction. And one of the things that's been really wonderful for me last weekend was meeting people who totally got this. It's been wonderful for me working with Alex over these past few months, because it's helped me realize that if I am to work with somebody, if I am to help them, if I'm to build up the business that I want, and I want to connect, to be honest, I think one of the greatest niches you could work in is helping other therapists, and consultants, and coaches. But I want to get out and do trainings. I want to work in front of groups of people. I want to get out. I've done 100+ recordings. I've done weight loss recordings. I've done all sorts of stuff. I've written several books. I've got an Amazon book, Fearless Fasting, which has been quite well received. But unless you build that certainty into what you're doing, then you are not going to achieve the results that you want. And I think the reason this is so important, the reason I said there's no difference between marketing and actually being a great hypnotist or a great therapist, is that it is all about the certainty, and it's all about the belief. You see, it was a bit of a weird understanding for me, a big reveal, to realize that hypnosis doesn't exist. It does not exist. There is no state that is there that you will sort of go under or be under. It simply doesn't exist. What there is a context that you create of receptivity for that person to make changes. Another way to say that is that you are creating the environment in which the placebo effect is switched inside a person's mind, which is why, if you want to be the best therapist, be the best at marketing, understand everything you can, join with other people. Don't try and do it by yourself. Join with other people. Look, honestly, there's over 8 billion people in the world. So how many is that? 8,000 million, whichever billion we're using, US billion now. But look, there's so many people out there. And just think of the therapeutic community, let alone we've got enough things, to in terms of coaching stuff, to keep all of us in money for years to come. So there's no shortage of stuff out there. We've all got our strengths, we've all got things we're great at, and we've all got things we can complement each other with. But if you want to be a great therapist, you have to position yourself in such a way as you're perceived as a credible authority figure in the minds of the group of the people who you're working with, so that you can help them make the changes that they want. And if you do that, if you truly do that, if you think in those terms, you will never have any problem in terms of finances and getting clients. Because let's face it, if you're listening to me here and if you stayed this far, I know that you're a committed person. B, You're probably waiting for me to try and sell you something. I've got nothing to sell today. I am just enjoying this, and I'm going to enjoy this interaction. I want to hang out with some cool people. I want to make some new friends, and I want to share this information, because I think that when I've looked at it in business, I've had friends over the years who are experts in marketing, who have wonderful companies, and they've given me advice. And for some reason, it took me a long time to make this connection inside my mind, that to be able to empower a person to change, you have to create the right context for change. To create that context for change, everything that you do, from the clothes that you wear, to the way you groom yourself, to the way you have your website, to your business card, but those small things, smaller things like the way that you greet people, all those kind of things are going to figure into that process. Now, this is not about being contrived. I'm not working from any script here, but what it is about is thinking in terms of that, because then when people come to see you, all those things that we were taught back in the day, I've got to go with this school, I've got to use this therapeutic approach, you know what? They're all just smoke and mirrors. They are irrelevant, and I will put anything from NLP and hypnosis in that box. I think some of those tools can be very elegant in terms of a coaching scenario. I actually think some of the kind of conversational stuff can be very useful. You can have the more overt stuff when I can say, oh, well, so you're listening to me, you can relax and feel good. But there are definitely some things, I think, in terms of metaphors to make people engaged. I think yes sets. I think that certainly asking questions, that's a very powerful way to unconsciously influence, that's for sure. But actually, in terms of the hypnotic induction, which traditionally would have been perceived as something very important, that whole process now of the hypnosis induction and the hypnosis segment of my therapeutic sessions, for me, is irrelevant. It is everything before then in the marketing. It is the consultation. It is the hypnotic triple of telling them that they're going to fill out the questionnaire and how they're going to do it, and how that's going to help them. It is telling them about the convincers that they will do when they come, and telling them what they're going to be doing and how their life's going to be different when they leave. That's where the real work happens, when they come in and you do these convincers with them. The actual rapid induction, instant induction, be it, whatever you do, it really doesn't matter. For what it's worth, and I will go through this stage by stage later on, I only use one induction now. I use the seesaw induction just because it's very easy, and it segues really nicely from doing the book and balloon. So I can show you a very quick version of that, but I mean, many of you watching here will have the DVDs from Rob Temple and Alex William Smith, and it's a really nice way of using segueing from the book and balloon convincer into doing an induction. And really, in my experience, there's nothing you can do wrong with that. I guess make sure the person doesn't fall on top of you, but other than that, there's not really any way that that's going to go right, because you're building certainty in there. So even if the person say open up their eyes during that point, you say that's right, you're opening up your eyes now, which means that you're really ready to go so much deeper next time that you close them. So it really doesn't matter. You can set things up for you. So I hope this has been useful for you. I will hang around for a little bit longer. If I know that there are some comments that people have played. I haven't had a chance really to reply to them as I've been chatting to you, but I will each day come on and I'll drill down into some detail on these. This week I'm launching I'm taking my own medicine, so I've got rapid blushing remover. I'm going to be launching with a press release, some other stuff around that as well this week. So I'll tell you about the process and thinking that I went through on that. So I'm going to be completing that task this week and getting that out there, and we'll see what happens with that. We'll see how that goes in terms of doing that. It's a niche area. I know there's demand for it. I know people like it. And it may well do really well. There may be some results. There may not be certain results. And I will be very happily sharing stuff with you. So I hope this has been useful. I hope you've got a sense of why I think that the thinking in this way with absolute certainty is important, because honestly, then you do not need to, as Alex, like to say, you don't need to go and spend money on loads and loads of courses. Yes, there are some courses I would still go to people, because I want to hang out with those people, and I want to learn from people who are masters at business and have mastered their niches and who are just nice, inspirational people. Yes, I will go and do that. I think it's really important for us all to connect. I think just trying to do this by yourself and being isolated is a strategy doomed to fail. We're humans, we want to connect, we want to relate to other people. But the thing is that if you're going to work, if you believe that you have to master one particular hypnotic induction, or that somebody who you've seen as the world's fastest hypnotist is the best person in the area, honestly, it matters not. It matters not whether you have one induction. As long as you create the right context, you'll succeed. I mean, one of the great people I know who's a master at hypnosis even did a course with about 20 different inductions, and right at the beginning he says, you know what, I don't use inductions anymore. I mean, I'll teach you these so that you've got them there for your craft. And it can be useful for a lecture demo, but all we're doing in that situation, if we're doing an instant induction with somebody where you literally tap them on the back of the head, their eyes close, and they appear to go into this sleep or somnambulistic state, all we are doing is pacing the expectation of the audience. So all we're doing really is hypnotizing the audience, if you will, to use that term, but we're helping trigger the placebo effect in them so that they buy into and believe in us as credible authority figures in our own area. That's all we're doing. It makes no difference in terms of the session whether you use any particular type of hypnosis. In fact, now my preference is to go very much down the direct route. Having done the Ericksonian indirect, you may be relaxing now, and as you think about this and think about that and the sounds around you taking you inside. Now, there is some benefit to doing that, but honestly, just be direct and tell people, you know what, when you come to see me, you are going to change. When you come to see me, when you walk through that door, you're just going to know that something wonderful is going to happen. You're going to sit down. I'm going to show you how inside your mind you can take control. I'm going to show you how you can do this. And by the time you leave, your life is going to be different. And remember, when you're doing this, you are, if you've stayed this far, you are clearly somebody who's compassionate. You're clearly somebody who's interested in this. You want people to change. And what's happened is you have been, like most of us, brought up to be a diligent student. And what does that mean, a diligent student at school? What does that mean to be a good person in our society? Well, it means you sit there and you passively receive information from the authority figure who's the expert, and you kind of like regurgitate it. No, we should move towards a true system of education like they had in ancient Greece. Educare, the root of education, means to draw out. We are drawing out information from people. We're drawing out resources from them. The ultimate person who's going to be the expert in your area of life, be it in relationships, be it as a coach, be it just as a person at work, be it as a colleague, the person who is the expert is you. And you need to find ways to build a mindset that works for you, that will empower you to trigger the placebo effect in your own mind. Because you may well be thinking, well, this is great, but how am I going to trigger it inside my mind in that area? Well, that's what I'm going to do over the next 28 days. Having worked in many, many areas of personal development, and I will outline some of that stuff, because we'll just be here forever if I start telling you all the stuff I've done. But I will tell you there's only a handful of things that I know are field tested, proven, that will work for you. And again, you won't need to spend a penny on them. Actually, there's some that you could choose to do, but I think you need a few things to succeed. I think some people who you trust and you can share information with. So hopefully we'll start to build a community now that can do that. We'll be part of that, maybe part of Steve Miller's wonderful A-list hypnotherapists, which is a fantastic group to join, or Alex Williams-Smith's Elite Bootcamp, which is an absolutely wonderful resource, 25 years. I mean, for the small price you pay there, every single seminar that he does, he records and then adds there. I think last week he bought rights to coaching and consulting programs, and you know what? Instead of charging for it, he just put it in there for free. He bought a mindfulness program, how to do mindfulness. He popped it in there, even with the resale rights, if you want to be able to sell that product online. I mean, honestly, I've never seen anyone anywhere add that much value. So for me, it's a wonderful thing. And pretty much every day I pester him with messages saying, what about this, or what about that, or would you do this? And I have to say, he is very, very patient, and he always gets back. So I find some of those resources really useful, and I will point you to some as we go. But today I wanted to just let you know this insight, because otherwise what happens is I had bookshelves full of books, thousands of sort of MP3s and different programs and caseloads and boxloads of stuff, and you can get quite lost in it. If you realize that fundamentally all you are doing is creating a strong sense of faith and belief inside yourself that you can transmit to other people, and that you are, in essence, in doing that, you will then be thinking in terms of context, the way in which you are structuring an environment in which your potential clients, colleagues, other people next to you can have faith in you and believe in you, and trust in you, then you will be moving very much in the right direction. And there are a number of ways which you can do that. Now, to be successful in that, to be honest, you've got to do that for yourself. So as part of going through this 28-day program, I'm going to show you how to do that for yourself. I will point you towards the website resources, so you can build your website for $10 that looks professional. We'll do you a logo for $10. I will show you how to manage that process. I will even give you a couple of recommendations of people to speak to who I use. I don't get anything for that, but they are very, very, very good. I'll show you some of the work that they've done for me during this time as well. But I think it's really important that we think in this way, and I think that it's really important that we get comfortable from the marketing and financial point of view, because I remember, I think it was Igor, who I spoke with some time ago, said to me that the average therapist earns about maybe $13,000 a year, £9,000. You can't live on that. You cannot live on that full time. You can't do that full time if you're making that sort of money, which means that you literally can't help people out. And I mean, last weekend was so wonderful because I met people there who are just running wonderful businesses, helping people out via Skype, or they're just doing Facebook groups where they are making a wonderful living, helping people out, helping niche audiences. But I tell you, all those people had one thing in common. They had strong self-belief. So over the next 28 days, I'm going to show you how to do that. The reason that as you go back and watch this again, if you choose to do so, is that something's going to switch inside your mind is this. You don't need any more courses on the therapeutic side or those things. If you basically understand that if somebody is feeling bad, or not feeling great, then they need to have an outcome. They need to choose an outcome to move towards where they feel better. And you can talk to them in such a way that they can feel good inside, and you can elicit that, and you can get more upbeat in your body language when you're moving towards that. If you can do that, and you are clear inside your own mind that that person is in enough robust mental health, in a good enough space inside that, there's not clearly something else where they may need some sort of professional kind of medical help, or they can literally they can concentrate enough to be able to listen to you and flow along with you, and there's a nice rapport there. Then you don't need any particular technique, particularly with the hypnotic induction. You don't need any specific hypnotic induction. All you need to do is bring the certainty to bear in your marketing, in your consultation, in the way that you tell people that things are going to be, and every single one of those steps on the way is going to be giving you that 62% chance at least that they've bought into it. So I'll leave you one final thought. I've got a wonderful client come in on Saturday. We spent quite a bit of time on the phone, and honestly, I think she's from a medical background. Gave me a pretty much harder time than I would normally do on the phone. And I said, I was fine. I said, look, when you come to see me, this is what we're going to do. You're going to be doing this. You're going to be doing that. And I went through that, and I repeated it, and I repeated it, hypnotic triple. And at the end, she said, you know what? I was going to go to see this other person, but you know what? You're saying you can just do this in one session, which is fantastic. I feel like it's amazing to know that this is out there. Well, this other person said it was going to be like, maybe 8, 9, 10 sessions. And, and they would charge me that. So although you're charging this for that session, actually to go and do all those sessions with them would it cost more. And actually, I really like what you're saying, because you're going to do this and you're tailoring it for me because you do the questionnaire. And it's completely different. I've not heard all the other people who I phoned round were just saying, it's going to be this number of sessions, and we don't know about this. And you're telling me that you can do this for me. You're going to have a recording for me. And she said, and I really feel excited about this. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you know that you have a good fit with your clients or your colleagues, because they say, you know what? I get this really great feeling. I feel better already. If somebody's saying that to you on your consultation, on your free consultation, whether you're doing it by phone or whether you're doing it via Skype, I would, that works really well for me. I don't think you need to do it in person, but that's just a personal preference, and it's easier to do that. Gives you a lot more flexibility about where and when you do it and how you do it. But you just know that that's a wonderful fit. If at the end of going through that process, honestly, it's very rare, but if you're at the end of the process and somebody said, that's quite good, that's all right, I hope it works. Yeah, then that, honestly, you know everything you need to know that that's not a fit. Because if you go through and and there are times you will go through and you play all those percentages and somebody's still not there, then really it's not going to be any different in your session. So it's absolutely fine. So you know what, perhaps perhaps well, going away, can I recommend that you do this, this, and this, and then just give me a call back next week. And once you've done that, so you'll actually be setting them some compliance tests and training. I often give people some mindfulness exercises to do. If they do them and they come back, that's fine, and they're ready to be a client. And if they don't, then God bless them, because I've already given them positive suggestions that they will be empowered. They will go away feeling fantastic. They'll go away feeling inspired. They'll go away feeling different. And I really want you to understand this, because I felt stuck for a very long time, feeling I needed to do the next course, that I had to sort of master something. There was some magic that other people had. And let's face it, we work in an industry where there are a lot of gurus who are the best, and really it doesn't matter. That is smoke and mirrors. It's unnecessary, it's unhelpful. You have a contribution to make. The world is a better place because of you. You have a contribution to make. The world is a better place because of you. And the more people who can experience you and the love and the kindness and the desire for change from your heart, then the better the world is going to be. And the more people you can get that out to, the more people you can help to believe in themselves, the better this world is going to be. And you can do that. And you absolutely have that inside yourself, which is why the marketing and the hypnosis or the coaching, there is no difference, because it's all about creating a context of receptivity, of change, of transformation inside the audiences and people who are there. All those people inside the world who feel that they are stuck inside their mind, that they're really stuck, that they can't move forward for whatever reason. You have something inside you to give that is very special. Could be kindness, could be compassion, could be experience. It can be all those things. If you're watching now, you probably are one of the kind of people who is very loving and very kind, and looks around at this goddamn political mess worldwide with idiots in charge in America, idiots in charge in Britain. Let's be fair, but it's pretty universal. A very strong materialistic culture, and you want something different. And let's face it, there are lots of people out there, kids, teenagers, adults who still carry wounds, lack of self-belief. And the wonderful thing is when you realize that so many of the problems that people have, it's hard to give I'm not a medical professional, so I can't give an exact percentage on it, but if 62% of people consistently on studies can get significant or absolute relief from IBS just because an authority figure tells them that they can get better, they're not even hypnotists, these are just people dressed as scientists who say, get better, then absolutely, if you flick that switch inside your mind, you can start to experience massive benefits. I mean, perhaps even some benefits that other people might find, pretty amazing in terms of health, in terms of energy, in terms of what you believe you can achieve in life. And what I'll do over the next 28 days is I will go through the marketing side of things, but I will also cover the personal development side, okay? I think that the personal development, the marketing, the hypnosis is all the same thing. It's about belief. So I'll show you how to build that belief in yourself very, very quickly with the minimum amount of pain. I will do my absolute best to be respectful to all schools. I think my approach to hypnosis, I think of it as ecumenical hypnosis. We'll bring all this stuff together. But at the end of the day, we do not need, for most things, long, drawn-out processes. It is as quick as that inside your mind that you can make these changes. It's just like that. It's just realizing that shift. If you see those people who look confident and stuff outside, and you know this for yourself, try getting up for a day and spend a day in your, without cleaning your teeth, without doing your hair, just wearing your ropiest old clothes and wander around in that, and then see how good you feel, slumped over and feel how good you feel. And then try another day where you go out to the hairdresser, you get yourself sorted, get yourself a nice shirt, you project yourself differently, and go and see how different that is. All these things are triggering the placebo effect in ourselves. They're triggering them in other people who will respond unconsciously. We can use this to transform ourselves from a business point of view. We can use it to transform ourselves from a point of view of just getting better results. We can use it to be better role models for our kids, because if we operate from that frame of reference, that we have certainty in our lives that we can change, that we can develop, that we can move forward, then our kids will pick up on it. All right. The worst thing you do as a parent is just be worried and stressed the whole time about the way things are. No, be a role model of absolute resilience, of confidence, of opportunity, because you know what? You have something special to offer. And even if you never thought of yourself as a therapist or coach, or particularly into personal development, if you're watching this, then there is something inside of you that says, you know what, I want something to be different. And you absolutely can do that, and you can absolutely help other people, even if you didn't want to charge a penny. What I will show you over the next 28 days doing these, and I promise these will be shorter. Today I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying talking to you, and you know, and God bless if it's you know, if you know, it may be a bit too long for some folk, but you know what? This is really important. I cannot stress this enough. You don't need external authority figures. You do not need books. You do not need courses for you to take charge inside and be the expert inside your life. And I think as hypnotists in particular, we have a moral obligation to take people in a direction where they can free themselves inside their minds. Now, that's not to say that you have to reject everything in society as a social construction, but it does mean that you should be at least very much at peace inside yourself, at least more consciously present, more mindful, having more choice, you know, so you feel like you have more choice inside your life. And so the people who you work with, you help them to be individual, free, you know, beings, however we want to label that, however we want to discuss that, however we want to, you know, conceptualize that. I think we have a particular therapist, we have a moral obligation to do that. We have a moral obligation not to try and force our kind of worldview on other people, because you know what, one lovely thing about the placebo effect now is I realize that probably most of the information that I've learned in life has not been very accurate, because I've been told certain things when I was a kid. I've had other people who are authority figures saying you can do this, you can't do that, completely randomly. And so throughout my life, what I think I can do and what I can't do is not an accurate, I don't perhaps at this point think I can draw. It's not an accurate reflection of my ability. It's just a reflection of a placebo effect was triggered in that area to believe that perhaps I wasn't that good at that. And so if I want to change it, then I just need to change. I need to find some way of flipping the switch in that area, which means that I need to be motivated in that particular area. I'm not that fussed at the moment, really, you know, about my drawing abilities. As you'll see when we get the flip charts out later on and I start going through some of the stuff that I've done in other videos, you'll find that actually I am not the world's greatest drawer, but it really doesn't matter. I've got a little boy. He loves doing that. He's very, very happy with that. So I hope this has been useful for you. Please do. You're very welcome to join me on Facebook, message me. I will very happily reply back. There are some wonderful resources. There are some books and resources I will drop in and mention to you as we go, not for any financial reason, but only because if they're things that have been useful for me and you want to take them further. But, you know, I'm going to give you my take on all those things going through here for free, and actually I will show you how to do hypnosis very quickly and easily. If you want to know that, I'll show you how to coach in seconds, and I'll give you condensed versions of approaches. So I will fully attribute my teachers as I go and my mentors, so that you know where those things come from. I will show you the personal development, those personal development things that do actually work. I will show you how to do that quickly and easily, and I'll point you in the direction of other things if should you wish to take that further. But most of all, I want you to realize and take away from today that once you make that switch inside your mind, once you believe in things, and if you go out into your daily life, the reason this has been so transformative for me is I can see now, you go into the store and you see people who get very excited on your Apple phone coming up. God bless you, wonderful. But you know what? It's a placebo effect. Yeah, there are plenty of other things that you can get that will do that, that will do that. But the reputation, the frame has been set such that people will believe that unquestioningly in many cases, but they have that feeling and they want to go for it. And that's really what you want to trigger. You want to do what Apple do in the minds of your prospective clients. You want to do that for your children. You want to do that for your colleagues and loved ones, for those people who are stuck in their lives, who are just consistently repeating the same cycle of problems. You've got to be able to develop a belief inside yourself and your abilities that's so strong that when the context is there in the environment, that you can actually help create the context and environment when that person is at that point that want to change. And many times, as Gandhi used to say famously, or is attributed to having said, you want to be the change, or be the change that you want to see in the world. If you are the change inside you that you want to see in the world, you will naturally start to do better. You will naturally start to see things differently, and you will feel empowered because you'll know that you can be the expert in your own life. You are the expert in your own life. There's not a doctor out there, a consultant, a professor, and there's not anyone else who knows more than me. Sorry, who's more than you about yourself. And there's no one who knows more about me than me, and there's no one who knows more about you than you. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you the things that are going to make a maximum amount of difference in a small period of time to move in that direction. I am not the world's expert on marketing. I have some very simple things and step-by-step stuff that I can show you that would be very useful for somebody coming at this from scratch or somebody who's struggling, and actually maybe some useful as well for folk who even are sort of quite experienced. But my aim for these is that we will together take this journey in 28 days. You'll see the transformation for me in terms of the product and the service that I'm launching, so we can use that as a little case study. We'll get to know each other. You'll ask me questions as well about, can I use it for this and what about that? But surely there's something there is a stakeholder hypnosis. Surely we can't just be, what about on a stage? I mean, surely there's an induction. Surely what's going on? Well, we'll look at that. We'll address that, and we'll see why. No, there isn't. But we'll happily do that. And actually, it is important that we keep that ritualistic importance in the process, as Alex likes to say, Alex William Smith likes to say. The reason we have that there is because it paces the expectations of the people who are coming to see us. Okay, at least in the Western world, in those countries or the countries around the world that are used to seeing stage hypnotists, there is an expectation that you will say sleep, and people will close their eyes, and then they will go in. They'll go inside into some particular state, typically eyes closed like that, slumping down. So we have to pace that expectation, but actually it is the context around that, the hypnotic context, as some people like to call it, that we created, is the environment. It is the placebo effect that is triggered in advance in the audience, in the people who we are with, in our clients. Before we get to that point, that makes the difference, which will explain to you greatly why sometimes those NLP techniques work, sometimes one of the hypnosis techniques work, why sometimes the coaching or therapeutic techniques seem to work really well. Or if you buy a book, for instance, on parenting, so there's a great one in there, How to Talk to Your Kids So They Listen, something like that. Well, if you go through and you just use the words from that, even if you use them with some kind of authority, they may well not work. You have to create the context in which the general principle that is expressed by the examples that are given in there. Once you can do that, and I'll show you how to do that, because I'll leave you with one little thought. I paid just one course alone. I paid $10,000. I think it was $10,000, maybe $8,000, but anyway, quite a lot of cash, US dollars, a few years ago. And it really, for me, it didn't really deliver on what I needed. But that's irrelevant. It was a great learning for me. But you know what? You don't need to keep dishing out necessarily vast sums of money to be able to make changes. What you do need to do is be able to understand context. And one thing I did get from the course, which is really useful, and it is, if you think about in terms of influence, if you think about in terms of your life, being able to connect with people, irrespective of hypnosis, irrespective of coaching, just as a human being, as a mum, as a partner, as a friend, as a colleague, we want to be able to influence people, and influence starts with context. And by context, we're thinking about our internal state, the physical surroundings for sure, the people who are there, the people who are not there, the time of day that we interact with them. So I will be discussing that as well, and I'll link that in because it's a really important part of the placebo. You're going to be maximizing your chances of getting the percentages in your favor by creating the context in certain ways and at certain times and with certain people than in other times. So I will leave it there, because otherwise I will be ranting all day and going on to give you one message, which is it's about belief. It's about when you hear about esteem, when you hear about branding, when you see those things on the TV, the adverts and stuff that come up, they're trying to create a change inside you, a feeling inside you, so that you have certainty about that, even though you don't need it, and even though that may well not be necessarily the best product for you. What they're trying to do is shift the placebo effect. And once you realize that, there can be great confidence. It can be very liberating inside you. It can be a wonderful, freeing, fantastic thing inside you, because you realize that you do not need the products, the money, the car, the house, the hair, the shiny white teeth, the the multi, the whatever. You don't need that from somebody else. What you need to do is create the environment inside yourself so that you can shift, make the shift, get the context right inside you first and foremost, and then begin to apply that on the outside, so that when you're dealing with, when you're working with people, when you're connecting with the people, you can come across as credible. And you can do that very gently. You don't need to do it as you don't need to do it in the way that I'm doing it. You will, and I'll show you how to do that and to tailor that for yourself in a way that's right for you. You can be as soft and gentle and peaceful and present and as meek as you need, as you want to be. Honestly, it doesn't matter, as long as you have this confidence, this gentleness coming from inside, coming for the highest good of all concerned, for the highest good of the people who you're with. But you still need to do that in a way where there is great certainty there, because the certainty that you have that the other person has the abilities inside them to change, to be happy, to live a life of fulfillment will come from you. I had a friend, and I have he's a great friend, and he's got very good at this now, because I used to tell him off because he'll be like, oh, I hope you have a good day. Well, I hope that's going to work out okay for you. And I'm like, excuse me, what? Look, I am going to have a fantastic. Things are going to work out for me, and I think he's starting to move in that direction, and we know each other well enough that we can do that. And so I'll show you some simple techniques. So you don't need to go and buy lots of NLP books and NLP courses if you don't want to. If you do, fantastic. I think there's great merit in learning our craft to the point where you are, like a well-rehearsed performance. It goes wonderfully at all levels on that, absolutely. And I think it's really useful to still learn some convincers. I think it's great to be able to know that you can go up and do an instant induction. But honestly, once I've done it once, I was like, well, okay, fantastic. Now I can get the person's foot stuck, hand stuck. They can forget their name. They can, they can negatively hallucinate me away. And I was like, okay, great. And I did it again. I was like, well, that's great. Okay, right. Now let's crack on. What's going on here? What do we need to do? And the business is this. We want to have better lives. We want to empower people. You're not going to empower people unless they buy into it. They won't. If you're a coach or a therapist, they're not going to buy into you unless you are charging more than the average. You need to be confident, and you need to believe in yourself to do that. And there are simple things to do. So I will show you how to instantly become confident. I think I may even do that in the next video, because I think if we do that at the beginning, if I show you two things that are just going to transform your ability to be confident, right off the bat, then we can crack on with doing that. So I'll show you how to trick yourself very quickly to be able to trigger the placebo effect inside you, so you start to feel more confident, feel happier. How about that for a little cliffhanger, a little tidbit to encourage you to come back? So if it's useful, please drop me a line, leave a message, whatever. I've really enjoyed talking to you. You've been very generous if you have stayed with me thus far. I just want to share that with you. I want you to know that you can change, you can be free, you can massively improve your business if you want to do that. And if you have this applies to any other area of business, it doesn't apply to all areas of life. If you are not getting the results that you want in a particular area, then there is something that you are doing that is causing doubt in the people who you are around because of something inside you, and we need to change that. So I will show you how to do that. Honestly, it's not that difficult. And I don't mind showing you. It's not like 8 billion people are now in on the secret and, oh no, there's no clients. So people are always going to want to do things. Always going to want somebody there. And what we do as coaches and therapists and friends and mentors is we can help sell people on themselves. And there are lots of different ways to do that. Some people have the more mentoring approach where they just tell you. It's not really my approach. I prefer more gentle. I mean, I like to converse. I like to ask questions. I'll probably use a mixture of kind of coaching, sort of indirect stuff, and to set the context, and then perhaps later on use some of the direct stuff. But it doesn't really matter. We will look at that. I will show you how to do that. So this is going to be a crash course in marketing and personal development. It's going to be a crash course in lots of different things, because honestly, I spent so many thousands of pounds with things that really, because all it is about triggering the placebo effect inside me, that I mistook those courses for being information that I needed to know, to be able to be empowered and to be able to do better in my life. And if and when you're at that stage, you are in what NLP, I guess, would call, you're at the effect of things rather than that cause. You are being affected by things on the outside, thinking that the authority figure, the qualification, the praise and approval from other people, the next course, the next idea, the next rapid induction is going to be the one for you, and you don't need that. Now, there are some that I think, honestly, there are some people who benefit from misleading other people in that direction, be they certain big businesses, be they certain politicians, be whatever. But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, once you know that information, and once you know that there, then you can be free inside yourself, and you can still go back and you can study with wonderful people. And it's a good idea, A, from a point of view of making friends, B, from a point of view of professional credibility, but C, also from a point of view of just having a well-rehearsed performance. Even if you're a nurse or a medical professional, if you are working with other people, the placebo studies go right through to bedside manner. You have a better bedside manner. Doctors in America who have a really good bedside manner get sued virtually 0%. They get sued much less than people who are just abrupt. Well, why is that? Because creating that kindness, so that warmth, it creates a receptivity. You're triggering the placebo effect again. Things get better. So, for instance, the medical community knows, and there's wonderful research on this, that you tell somebody they're going to be okay, you tell them it's going to work, and you tell them they can do it, and things will start to shift for them inside their minds. So thank you for your time. I will let you go now. I really, really appreciate your time. I've had a lovely time going through this, and this is like on the back of a wonderful weekend away. I really want to thank all the people I've met over the last few days, the people who I've started to connect with on Facebook, the people I met at the Royal event, Steve Miller, Alex Smith, all the wonderful people I've met. I've not honestly done a course before, been in a professional environment with such lovely, warm, sharing, open-minded, kind, supportive people, and it's wonderful. And that is really, I think that's where our industry needs to go. I think that's where we as the carers, therapists, whatever we want to call ourselves, need to go in that direction. We need to raise our standards. We need to support each other, and we need to do that. And because the placebo effect is so important, it all starts with the marketing side. So there's no difference, because the moment that your website is out there, the moment you're speaking with somebody, at that very moment, things are starting to go inside their mind. It's either an acceptance, where you're bypassing the critical factor, or the critical factor goes up. It's like, oh, I don't know, that person's only charging 20 quid. I'm not sure if they're any good. So you want to move. You need to position yourself, and you need to be thinking like, how can I create the context for change? So next time I'll start off with at least a couple of things you can do to really shift that inside for yourself, so that you can experience what it's like to change inside. And then we're going to drill into different areas of how to apply to business, personal relationships, interrelationships, all that kind of stuff. So thank you very much for your time. I really, really appreciate that. This is my first Facebook Live thing. And look at me, 1 hour, 12 minutes. I talk far too much. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Have a fantastic day. I hope this has been useful for you. I hope this has been interesting. It's informative. I'll make sure it's available. So if you miss bits of it, or if you do want to watch it again, it'll be there for you. And I will put out on Facebook a time tomorrow when we can do this again. Thank you very much. Take care. Have a lovely day.